It's another Tuesday. Welcome to AHYSEN Nation. We're so glad you are with us today on WAFB Plus, available on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. We're also streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. Hit those likes and hit those subscribes anywhere you can, and so we can give you a notification on when we are live. This particular program every Tuesday, 10 a.m. right here live on WAFB Plus, and we try to have a special guest when we can. And today we can. We're so excited to take part in Black History Month and through the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge Healing History Black History Month exhibition. We are excited to have Miss Ellen McKnight with us. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Johnny?
How good you look in that green.
Oh, thank you.
And look, you're going to be a newlywed sometime.
I am getting married. I'm going to be in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Awesome. That's awesome. Have y'all picked out honeymoon places yet?
We would like to go to Tanzania. For the honeymoon. They have beautiful beaches there, and that's where we're going.
Holy cow. I don't think I ever would have thought of Tanzania as a destination.
Oh, the most beautiful beaches in the world off the coast of Africa, so yes.
Now, you are here for a very specific reason, and the reason is this fantastic seminar that you guys are putting on this Sunday called Eat to Live, Navigating Nutrition and Mental Health.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about it. First, start by telling me the time, the location, and if there's a fee.
Well, it is free to the public. So this event is made possible by the Arts Council of Baton Rouge, Safe, Hopeful, Healthy, and Mayor Sharon Weston Broom's office and the Maxine Firm. And so it is going to be February 13th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. right before the Super Bowl.
Wow. So you can get out there and have some fun.
Yes, and it's going to be at the Arts Council of Baton Rouge, their brand new facility. I don't know if you all have seen it yet, but it is beautiful, and it's going to be held in the gallery inside the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge.
And Ellen, tell us a little about what is going on at the seminar. You have yourself and another special guest.
Yes. So at the seminar, we're going to be discussing, it's called Eat to Live, Navigating Nutrition and Mental Health. And so we're going to be giving you a broad overview of nutrition, so balanced nutrition, eating healthy. It's still the beginning of the year. We haven't fallen off completely yet. So we're going to talk about what it means to balance that plate, right? And so once we get through what it means to balance that plate, we're going to talk about how the things that we eat impact our mental health. So how the foods that we intake impact our emotional, our hormonal, and our mental state.
Wow, hadn't fallen off. I had to button my coat while you were talking.
That's okay.
Because I have fallen off. I have completely fallen off. You have an extensive background. You've got a lot of MPA, R&D. Tell us what some of your studies have been getting you to the point where you're at now.
Okay. Well, I'm a registered dietitian. I'm a licensed dietitian, nutritionist, and then I'm also have a master's of public administration with a healthcare concentration. So a great deal of the work that I do is around public health, public engagement, and health literacy across the state of Louisiana. I'm also a CLC, and that is a certified lactation counselor. And so what that means is I encourage folks and teach folks about the benefits of breastfeeding and how that can impact our children from infancy on into adulthood. So that's who I am. That's what I do. Public health nutrition is my thing. The special guest that you mentioned that we're going to have is Dr. Megan Bourne. And Dr. Bourne, she's a licensed clinical psychologist, and she is going to help demystify the linkage between the foods that we eat and how they impact our bodies. So how they impact us, how they affect anxiety, how they affect depression, and kind of letting us know what that really is and what that really means, and the things that we can do right now today to control those things.
We hear so much on TV about these things like Noom and weight loss begins with how you think and things like that. In your experience, what are some of the ways that our mental health affect our physical body, other than, obviously like the depression and the positive thinking and things like that? But I don't know that a lot of us equate mental health with, your physical this.
Right. So that's a really good question. So, good inputs, good outputs, so on and so forth. So, you know, if you have a plant, you can't put Coke on it. You got to put water on it if you want it to thrive, right? You got to feed it what it needs. And so it's really important that the things that we eat, the things that we listen to, the folks that we consume, that we surround ourselves with, and the thoughts that we think, you know, they really impact our mental health. And so small things like added sugar, how that impacts the brain, how that impacts neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, those types of things. Dr. Bourne will get into that. The effects of good fats and bad fats on our brain, you know, the types of food that we need to improve cognition from an early age up until adulthood. So we're going to be talking about all of those things. We've been talking about buzzwords like brain foods, and what do brain foods really mean? You know what I mean? And so Dr. Bourne is going to help us, you know, just going to target those foods that specifically can impact anxiety. And what does anxiety mean? And what are the symptoms of anxiety? She's going to specifically talk about depression. What does depression mean? What does it feel like? What foods positively or negatively impact depression? And so on and so forth.
That's fascinating to me because I have anxiety, but I never have equated anxiety to what I eat. I thought it was just stress in my life or just this anxiety disorder that I have that I was diagnosed with at 14 years old. It's only gotten worse as an adult, but we can curb some of those anxiety issues with diet.
Absolutely, diet and physical activity.
Both of which I lack.
That's okay. It's always, every day is a new opportunity to do it right, to have a new start.
Seems like every Monday I have a new start, and by Wednesday the king cake shows up in the break room.
Well, I saw the king cake in the break room, and you know we had that struggle here in Louisiana, but Monday is always a great day to start over.
Ellen McKnight has graciously given us her time, and we're going to even go into more detail on the program Eat to Live, Navigating Nutrition and Mental Health. It's a seminar this Sunday that she is taking part in, and you're pretty much putting it on.
Yes. We absolutely are. Myself and Dr. Megan Bourne-Kilbert, she is a part of the Maxine Firm. Like I said, she's a licensed clinical psychologist. And she and I will be, you know, doing a seminar letting you know what balanced nutrition is, how to balance your plate, and once you balance your plate, how does that correlate to managing and maintaining your mental health?
Boy, that's so important to hear. So we were talking in the break, you and I, about you don't necessarily have to just roll over and give up because, oh, I'm getting older now, and as I'm aging, my metabolism is going to be shot, and I'm just going to gain weight. That's just a thing that's going to happen. That's not necessarily true.
It is not true. So, you know, now is the time for you to command your own health. And so as it relates to nutrition, there's this thing called balanced nutrition. We always let folks know that diets don't work, but lifestyle changes do. So we want to encourage you to incorporate My Plate at every opportunity, and that's how you balance your plate. The first thing you can do is make certain that it's colorful. The next thing you can do is make certain that you have those whole grains, lean proteins. Half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, and then if you're still doing dairy, low-fat dairy.
Well, now, Ellen, does the food pyramid that I grew up with, is that still pertinent today?
Well, the food pyramid, we've upgraded the food pyramid. We're no longer using that. We're using My Plate. Some folks believed that the food pyramid was a little bit too complicated, so they simplified it to a plate with 5 groups on there. And with that plate with 5 groups, the idea is every time you sit down to your plate, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you have those 5 food groups on your plate. You have those different colors, and you make certain that half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, right? And so that's the big shift that we have to, make. Oftentimes we'll consider, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but the fruits and vegetables are an afterthought. So we've got to put them at the forefront of our mind.
So the 5 things you need on your plate are?
Grains,
okay,
protein, fruit, vegetables, and dairy. So yeah, those are the 5 groups.
Boy, some of those are in the no-no list on some diets.
Those are in some of the no-no lists on some diets. And so My Plate comes directly from the USDA, and so the United States Department of Agriculture. And they also produce a guideline for healthy Americans, the dietary guidelines for healthy Americans, along with some other federal organizations. And so it is a more balanced approach, non-restrictive approach to nutrition for everyday Americans, barring any diseases. So that is the USDA's My Plate. I do understand that goes against some of the diets, but like we said, diets don't work, lifestyle changes do.
What about, and again, I'm just gonna throw out some stuff that we've all been pounding in our head. Eating a lot of carbs, don't eat carbs, heavy protein, ketogenic diets. Can you give me just some thoughts on that?
Oh, sure. So you know what? Carbohydrates have gotten a bad rap, right? Back in the 80s and the 90s, fat got a bad rap. But then we found out that we have good fat and bad fat, and then our bodies and our brains absolutely need those fats. And on Sunday, we're going to be talking about how important good fats impact our mental health. But in terms of those ketogenic diets and the bad carbs and so on and so forth, we have to remember that carbohydrates are our primary source of energy, okay? And so we want to make certain that we choose complex carbohydrates, and you can get those from your whole grains. And we cannot forget that vegetables are indeed carbohydrates. We cannot forget that fruit are indeed carbohydrates. And we know that we get the majority of our vitamins and our minerals from fruit and vegetables. We also get the majority of our antioxidants that fight free radicals in the body from fruit and vegetables. So we want to, caution you against restricted diets that tell you to, X-nay on the carbohydrates, because we need the right kind of carbohydrates.
It's interesting because it sounds almost like if you're eating correctly, that can be your medicine, and do away with some of the chemicals that, a pill is a chemical, and thank goodness for some of those, because some of those with like you and I mentioned thyroid problems and things like that can get all that in check. But other issues as we age can probably be, we can prevent going on a prescription drug for this or for that. Again, barring no health complications, by proper diet. I've often heard food is medicine.
Yes, that's one of my favorite quotes. Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food.
Wow.
And so, Johnny, what you're saying is what we're trying to tell the folks. If we can command or invest in our health on the front end, we will not be forced to deal with illness or preventable chronic diseases on the back end.
But here's the deal. This is what irritates me.
Tell us.
You can go to McDonald's.
You can.
And you can get a Big Mac fries and a large Coke, which is full of sugar, for $7. But you go to somewhere like a Whole Foods and get something healthy, and a small serving of a fruit or something like that, and it's $10. So it's almost like from a convenience standpoint, drive through, eat it in the car, and go on with our fast-paced lifestyle. But if you really wanted to slow down and stop and prepare, it's going to be more expensive to eat right. Yes or no?
I will say no, but I will say this sentiment is widespread, and I'm so glad that you brought this up. So we talked about the convenience piece, right? We do understand that cooking and planning does take a little bit more time, but we encourage you to plan on the front end, with your time as it relates to the foods that you prepare in your physical health. Because if we don't plan on the front end, then illness and hospital stays will rob you on the back end, and you will not have anytime, right? So that's one thing. You made a very good point about the conception of eating healthy being more expensive. And that is not the case all the time. It does take a little bit more effort to eat healthy, so we would have to plan. So say, for example, if we were to plan out a pot of red beans, right? We know that beans are economical. We know that rice is economical, so on and so forth. And we love that on a Monday here. So if we planned ahead and did a pot of red beans for the family, it is going to cost less per meal for a family of 4. So that is red beans with whole grain or brown rice, whole grain brown rice, or quinoa or wild rice. Then we would have our beans, which are lean proteins, making certain that we cook with more fresh seasoning, forced seasoning, so the trinity, garlic, celery, onion, so on and so forth, and our spices. And then instead of perhaps instead of a pork for the protein, we might want to use a lean protein like turkey sausage or smoked turkey or something like that instead. So planning ahead.
God, you make it sound so easy. I guess really, if you think about it, it is. And once you get into that habit,
Well, once you get into the habit, but it's got to become a priority for you. The reason why it's a priority for me is because so many of my family members have been, negatively impacted from chronic disease. And so, and these particular chronic diseases were chronic diseases directly related to nutrition and directly related to physical activity. And so there's a great deal of type 2 diabetes in my family, but we know that that's directly linked to overconsumption of added sugar and physical inactivity. Heart disease, quite a bit of strokes are happening here, and then also, and so that's directly related to saturated fat, excess intake of saturated fat, excess intake of sodium, so on and so forth. And so when I spoke about if we don't make it a priority on the front end, it will rob you of time on the back end. That's what I'm referring to. And it's not just the person who gets sick, it's also their family members and their caretakers as well.
Well, yeah, then you become caregivers for a partner or a child or a parent that in the earlier days of their life did not eat and exercise like they should, and they're suffering now from direct consequences of that. But if we get into our senior years and we haven't done the right things early on in life, is it too late to get started? And can we affect change in those later years by changing our lifestyle at that point? 55, 60, 65, 70? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's never too late to improve, right? And so, say for example, our senior populations who may or may not have had the opportunities to, make the best decisions as it relates to their health. I encourage you to make certain that you talk with your primary care provider, a licensed, registered clinical dietitian, so they can kind of assess what issues that you have going on and make a game plan for you for the future. So say for example, you have high blood pressure, talk to and you want to get off of that medicine, talk to your primary care provider and let them know that you want to get off that medicine, and that he will in turn, get your lab work, send your lab work over to a registered clinical dietitian, and they can come up with a prescriptive diet plan for you to get that down.
I love that, a prescriptive diet plan to get that down. A1C, we hear about that number all the time. If your A1C is starting to creep up, can you, or if it's out of the normal range and they're considering putting you on some type of diabetic pill because you're pre-diabetic, can your diet alter that A1C enough to where you will not develop diabetes?
It absolutely can do that, and that's another conversation with your primary care provider and your clinical registered dietitian. We talked about those complex carbs earlier. If you are being told that you're at risk for prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, I'm specifying type 2 diabetes, you have an opportunity to shift your plate. So we talked about those whole grains and complex carbohydrates. Those complex carbohydrates have a lower glycemic index. That means it takes them a longer time to break down in your bloodstream, so your sugar won't spike, so your blood sugar won't spike. So incorporating whole grains and complex carbohydrates on a daily basis, that's going to vastly improve those blood sugar levels, as well as making certain that you are primarily eating fresh fruit and dark green leafy vegetables, all the different colors of vegetables. But you can absolutely change the trajectory of your of diabetes or type 2 diabetes or blood sugar if you command your diet and especially pay attention to those complex carbohydrates.
The seminar is coming up this weekend. It is called Eat to Live, Navigating Nutrition and Mental Health, and we are with our special guest today, and we're so glad to have you here. It's Ellen McKnight, and she is with us and will be for a couple of more minutes. And the event is this Sunday at the brand new Arts, what is it?
It's the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge.
And it's on St. Ferdinand between Government Street and North Boulevard, kind of in that area. You know where that's at. How can we, you said it's free, but you would like for us to register.
Absolutely. We want to make certain that we have you accounted for and a seat for you. And so if you text wellness to 225-334-8802, you will have the opportunity to register there. And so we'll send you a link automatically, and you can register to attend the event. And I'll say that again. The number is 225-334-8802, and you would text wellness to that number, and you have the opportunity to register.
Before you leave it, a couple of more questions. a white potato versus a sweet potato, white rice versus the rice you mentioned a minute ago, the brown rice. Those are all 4 starches. Those are all 4 carbohydrates, right? So those are all 4 on no-no list on some of our programs that we've been following since January 1st. Give us some feedback and some thoughts as a nutritionist on that.
So brown rice. So brown rice, so you said white rice instead of brown rice or wild rice. So brown rice and wild rice are complex carbohydrates. If you're trying to stay out of that pre-diabetes land, you want to make certain that you switch on over to complex carbohydrates. And so 3 things that complex carbohydrates and whole grains do for you, and which is why they're important and healthy. They help lower your cholesterol. We know that total cholesterol needs to be under 200 grams per deciliter. And those whole grains have those good fats inside the germ of the carbohydrate, and they help lower your cholesterol. They also are high in fiber. We are being told all the time that we need to consume more fiber and add fiber to the diet. So that those whole grains, that wild rice, that brown rice, is high in fiber and helps lower your cholesterol. And then finally, as we mentioned, those whole grains have a lower glycemic index. That means they take a longer time to break down in your bloodstream, so your blood sugar does not spike, and we don't want to see that, right? And if your blood sugar is not spiking and it has a lower glycemic index, that means you stay fuller longer, all right? And that's important.
Well, that makes sense. And I've developed something in just the last few years. When I eat a couple of Krispy Kreme donuts, like 3, all right, within 30 minutes, I cannot function. Within 30 minutes, I am literally on the couch in a weird sleep. It's not that REM sleep, but it's a weird sleep that I can't wake up from. And when I do wake up for about an hour or so after that, I feel weird. And that conversation prompted my doctor to start doing A1C. Right now, my blood sugar is a little high, but the A1C is right in the middle of normal. But it's kind of creeped up 0.2, not 2 points, but 0.2. It went from like a 4.9 to a 5.1.
Okay.
So it's but what is that causes me to do it feels like I'm in a coma. After 3 Krispy Kreme donuts, I never used to have that problem.
And so, oftentimes, things like that can happen when we are consuming excess added sugar. And I don't think that we truly realize how much sugar are in some of our favorite treats and how they can impact our metabolism, how our body absorbs those nutrients, so on and so forth. So when folks say moderation is key, they are not lying, okay? Our bodies, react to foods, to nutrients, so on and so forth, in certain ways when we've had too much or when we've had too little. So, yes, sir.
This is so fascinating. I could spend all day on you on this with you, but you're going to be on the air with us on Friday morning. So, in promotion of the seminar, again, the seminar is coming up on Sunday. Give us the who, what, where, when, and text and all of that.
All right. So the who is the Eat to Live, Navigating Nutrition and Mental Health seminar with myself and Dr. Megan Bourne, licensed clinical psychologist. It's going to be at the Carrie Siraj Community Arts Center, and that is also the Arts Council of Baton Rouge on St. Ferdinand Street in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that's downtown. If you would like to attend, all you have to do is text wellness to 225-334-8802, and you'll see us there. It's going to be so much fun.
There it is. Text wellness to 225-334-8802, and we are so excited for you and for this program. Ellen McKnight, you've been a pleasure. What a wealth of knowledge. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding.
Thank you.
And we hopefully will see you before then, but if not, congratulations. But we'll definitely see you on 9 News this morning, and it's going to be this Friday morning right here on WAFB and WAFB Plus. Join us again for AHYSEN Nation. We're on every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, hit those likes and hit those subscribes so you can know when we are live. Ellen McKnight has been with us. Eat to Live, Navigating Nutrition and Mental Health. The seminar is this Sunday. Don't miss it. I will see you on 9 News this morning tomorrow. Take care.